Broadcasting across the country and around the world, from Sin City in Las Vegas, Nevada, join Moose and PowerSerg as we prove that age is truly just a number and the best life is yet to come. Grab a seat, pour yourself a drink, and dare to live on 50 Shades of Great. Welcome back to another episode, 50 Shades of Great, daring to live. Moose here, football season, PowerSerg, gonna get into it, gonna join my religion. I'm like the guy knocking on the door with the NFL book, and you're gonna join, buddy. You are gonna join. By the end of this show, you're gonna recognize the NFL as a religion.
I don't think it's going to happen. I'll tell you, it's been a long time since I watched a game. I like going to the games, but I can't. I don't understand what all the hoopla is about. It's not like you're playing the game.
Yeah. No. It's great to play. I mean, did you play sports growing up? Maybe that's part of it. You know, we're talking to men who have played football versus those who haven't. The NFL has the same sort of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got a lot of friends that are really into fantasy football. They're into NFL. They, season ticket holders, never played a day in their life, never desired to play, weren't athletic. And then you've got the diehard jocks, gym bros that, I mean, a lot of those are, the ones you see highly intoxicated fighting with CSC at the at the field level. Speaking of last week, Chargers beat the Raiders. Opening game, SoFi, Los Angeles. I was there. A ton of fights. And
really?
I know we're here.
So I know the Raiders because they're the Dallas team, they're the
Dallas team.
The Las Vegas team. Yeah, sorry, Las Vegas team. Dallas Cowboys are in Dallas. At least I know that much. But no, I didn't play sport. I didn't play football in high school. I didn't I swam in high school and then I played chess. Right. So the craziness is that I lettered in chess in high school.
Did you break a sweat?
You know what? By saying that, the fact that I lettered in chess in high school should tell you everything you need to know about my high school career.
Well, you said on the fitness show, hey man, I've always, I've never been the fitness guy or whatever. But yeah, for most of high school, I'll admit my grades and mostly my behavior kept me out of continuous playing of high school sports. So I did play like the AYSO and some club soccer and stuff like that. I did try swimming, because I thought, it's easy. I always been swimming. I was a surfer growing up, from the time I was 16. Me and my best friend would go out to Mission Beach or Solana Beach or something like that, and we'd hit the waves. But I thought, no big deal, bro. I was a freshman. I jumped in the pool thinking, no big deal. By the third lap, I'm like, I'm gonna die. And they had already made me shave my legs, and I had to remember that Nair. Yeah, remember the Nair to get rid of all the hair on you. Oh my God!
I honestly didn't do. I didn't do any of that. I wasn't that serious about it. I did it because it allowed me to. No, it allowed me to go in the pool, right? So look, you grow up in the inner city. This is what happens, right? But you had access to a pool, and the pool was fun, right? And so I didn't swim because I wanted to be a competitive swimmer. I swam because it was a fun thing to do. I enjoy swimming now, right? My favorite place is the beach. I don't go there to do laps. I don't go there to compete.
Well, that's a long goddamn lap if you're going in the ocean to go for a lap.
It's a very long lap. But even in the pool, it's and especially now. Oh, look at you! All the sound effects in the world.
Well, let me set the stage for 1 second.
Tell me about football. So tell me about football.
Yeah, but what I want to say, first of all, appreciate everyone tuning in, and we are going to talk about why I believe the NFL is a religion. It is something that I have dedicated my tithes, my Sundays, and a lot of my overall disappointment, yet hope for a better day. So we'll equate that.
So here's the question. Why do you treat football like a religion? What is it about football that gets you driving whatever hour that you drive, or 2 hours that you drive to the stadium
to go enjoy the game and spend $20 on a beer and $20 on a hot dog? And well, you know what? It comes back to, well, first of all, I want to let everybody know that thank you for joining us. It does look a little different. We are not in the Vegas Content Studio this week. I'm actually out in Los Angeles. I came out here for the Charger game last week and ended up staying out here on some work stuff and had some travel. So Serge and I are trying our first remote broadcast. What do you think?
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
We'll have to try it. I'm in Dallas in a temporary makeshift studio.
Oh, are they like incarcerated?
Incarcerated. No, just a temporary makeshift studio.
Hey, fair
It
enough,
feels
fair
like
enough.
I'm
As you can see, I'm
incarcerated.
here in my man cave. I'm here in my man. I'm going to get your question now. You asked me how I can dedicate so much of my
Why?
energy
Not
and
how,
to why?
but why?
Because because you know what? It's for most of my life, the NFL and the ability to go to the football games for whatever reason. Some people, I could ask the same thing about religion. I could ask the same thing about certain jobs, but for some reason this gives me an escape from everything else. It gives me the ability, it's something to look forward to. I yearn for this season. I look forward to Thursday, Sunday and Monday nights. I I feel there's sense of accomplishment. And now we've got fantasy football where I can get players from different teams who I really like the players. Because I'll tell you, one of the things is, it's kind of like we're using religion, right? Like I'm not. People don't get too upset about me using the word religion. I'm talking about religion, something you dedicate all of your efforts, times, faith, desire, money, and seek that as your like higher being. SoFi Stadium is my temple. I mean, it is what it is. It's not sacrilegious. I'm just telling you. I pay towards it. I pay my tithes. It's expensive to get in there. Um, but looking at it, Serge, it's always been an escape for me. And we talk about 50 Shades of Grey. We talk about daring to live. My ability to spend $300 for the last 22 years that I've been a season ticket holder, I've made it up to club level. I feel like I'm promoting within the church. I'm promoting my
So
standing and
periodically
my
you would
support.
so periodically you would improve the seats that you had over the last 22
Absolutely.
years.
I started out in the nosebleeds, man. I started out in the nosebleeds, $35 a game, Jack Murphy Stadium way back in the day. Then it turned into Qualcomm Stadium, and then we ended up in Carson. Obviously, Chargers fan, born and raised in San Diego. And so I did follow them to Los Angeles. Again, shows kind of that level of religion, right? It's something that I
No,
wasn't willing to convert religions.
it's definitely no. Knowing you, football is definitely a religion, right? It drives what you do on Sundays. You talk about it all the time, all right? Your mood changes depending on what happens in the game. Um, so I've seen you at games like I think last year I took you to a Raiders Chargers game
Yeah, actually in Vegas.
in Las
And
Vegas.
that's when I decided to move
Um,
there.
yeah, so I definitely get the fact that it's a religion for you. All right. So you answered a very good question. So one of the reasons is a religion provides an escape, and we can actually talk about how religion provides an escape from the everyday. It gives you something to look forward to, right? And I totally understand that. Is
And
the escape simply like while you're watching the game, or does it affect your life in more ways than that?
you know what? That's a great question. So I think that with fantasy football, that has given me the escape whenever I want the escape because I'm constantly watching for what the players on my team are doing during the week when they're practicing, like before. If somebody's getting injured, if somebody's not performing well, if somebody's getting sick, then I can manipulate my lineup to say, hey, what's going on here? So I'm having a hard day at work or, you know, tired of the kids or just want to get away is that's what I'll do, and I'll escape into that. And it's interesting because I tell people and they give me crap about they don't call it a religion. But then we have a variety of very different controversial preachers. Stephen A. Smith. You say you're in Dallas. The biggest enemy of Dallas, Stephen A. Smith. You have a lot of
I have no idea
Tony
who that
Romo.
is.
Okay, well, I'll use another Dallas example. So Tony Romo. Tony Romo was a quarterback. That's the guy, Sergio, that gets the ball, he hiked to him, and then he
Well,
throws it
throws
or
it.
he hands it
Got it.
off. Yeah,
I'm with you.
he's the he's the main guy on the offense in the center there. So Tony Romo was he was a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, and he's I've never been a Cowboys fan. They're in a whole different division because you have the AFC and the NFC. They're the NFC, so they're not even really relevant to me unless it comes to Super Bowl. But so Tony Romo was this quarterback that I thought he was like a mid quarterback, right? Like he's
Is that the guy with does he have a restaurant of ribs now?
that I
Does he have a
don't know,
restaurant?
but he does like the Corona commercials. He's the What did I say?
The Corona commercials,
The
the beer
Corona beer
guy.
commercials. So okay.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he's the one with the lime. Okay. Anyhow, so he's done Corona commercials. So Tony Romo is a former quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't think he was that great of a quarterback. I called him. I said there's one thing he's really good at. Like he should go work at a breakfast restaurant because he can serve up turnovers like nobody's business. And that's when you throw an interception or you fumble the ball. But then he got out of football and he got into the broadcasting side of it. He's one of my favorite broadcasters now. I mean, didn't care for him as a quarterback, but this guy literally has the ability to watch the game. He has such a good read on the game, and he has such a good instinctual feeling for what's going to happen on the field that he literally calls it before it happens. It's phenomenal, So kind of like if you're going to church and you have a certain mass time, a lot of people will go based on who's preaching or what priest is up there or what rabbi is going to be speaking. I do. I enjoy watching the games a lot of
Thank
times
you. The
because of
Moose Man give
who's calling the shot.
and the Moose Man gave us a little shout out to the fellow Jews. So thank you for the
There you
rabbi.
go. There you go,
Right.
man.
Uh,
And I tell you
so
what, man. And the other thing I love about it, and I'm just going to touch on this and get the hell out of it because I don't want to start this kind of political, religious thing, right? But the one thing, what I will say is the other thing about sports that I've loved for so long. I used to drive from Temecula to San Diego when I worked at the Port of San Diego. And it's an hour and a half drive to and from based on traffic, right? So I got a chance to escape the Democrats, the Republicans, the religious right, the progressive left, all that noise that constantly is bothering me. And I've always been a government contractor, so some sort of security. So ultimately, I'm not officially allowed to have an opinion. So it was nice to be able to just break away from that and then have the ability to just focus on something that wasn't pissing everyone off. And if you have a really good football fan and actually knows what and this is where I take shot at Raiders fans, and I'll take on a Raiders fan any day of the week. Some of my best friends are Raiders fans. I think that some of the best people to debate with are Raiders fans. But overall, the Raiders have a bunch of these fair weather fans that just like they like the Johnny Depp kind of uniform with the skull and crossbones, and they're going to go, sail the seven seas. And so, you're not debating with a real Raider fan. So a real Raider fan, we're going to talk about Max Crosby, right? We're going to talk about why they let Derek Carr go. We're going to talk about coaching. We're going to talk about the differences between Al and his son and the ownership. When you just have one of these idiot Raider fans that start all the fights at the games is when they say, oh, yeah, well, your fans suck. Oh, they're all like fair weather. Dude, let's talk about football. Let's talk about the last 23 years and how you haven't won a postseason game. Oh, but we have three. Oh, but we have Super Bowl rings, man. We got Super Bowl rings. Yeah, you know what? That's the equivalent. People that bring up Super Bowl rings to me from the Raiders. This is funny because the Chargers haven't done it. One of the things I talk about in the show, Serge, is, hey, I've become a great patient person when it comes to being disappointed because the Chargers have delivered that to me year after year after year. I'm hoping that Jim Harbaugh, coming from Michigan, is going to make the change. I've got faith in him. He was our quarterback at one time, number 4, way back in the day. But when you're talking to these people who can't say anything but hate on you, they don't understand the sport. Now, there's a lot of diehard Raider fans out there that I actually love having a beer with because you can have a decent conversation. You can talk football, talk smack. And at the end of the day, you know what you do? You cheers the beer, you bump fists, and you go home. And it's great. It's a great ability to
so I like
let
that.
off the steam.
I like that a lot. Right? I like that a lot. I like the fact that sports can unite us, right? So this is the thing. So number one, it's an escape, and it's escape from every day, and so we don't have to listen to all the noise. And you've said that a couple. So that's great. The other thing too is that I do think the sports kind of unites us, right? So even if people are on different political, socio viewpoints, right? If they're during the game and they're both Charger fans, they're going to be united in their cheers. They're going to be cheering
Absolutely.
at the same time. All right.
Absolutely.
And so I think that, and so it gives you a common sort of a sense of common purpose, right? What I struggle with is the fact that I don't know, like, I will say that the one time that I actually enjoyed football was through a football movie, right? I think it's called
Like Friday Night Lights or
the All. No, it's the All American, It's
Okay.
with Zachary Levi. It's about Kurt Warner, right? Who was a really interesting quarterback. He
Yeah,
led
Kurt
the
Warner has a great story.
Rams
Yeah.
to, yeah, great story. And the movie, I think it's called The All American, with Zachary Levi, is an amazing movie. I'm not a football fan at all, and I absolutely was glued to my little screen. I saw it on a plane, but it was just amazing. And after that, I was like, well, maybe I should start watching football. And I didn't
Yeah.
because it takes so much of your time. I have so many other things going on that I just don't have time to focus on football.
Well, and it's
I
a matter
don't
of
need
priority.
my
I mean,
escapism is different.
right, right. And because it's my escape, I make time for it. And it's important to me. It's important to get that time in. It's like a relationship. I mean, I literally have a relationship with football. And it takes up that time. It takes my money. It takes my effort. You know, sometimes it makes me really happy. Sometimes it makes me really upset, really sad. I mean, I'm not one of these guys who takes a baseball bat to my TV, but you know, there's always those times. Now, I will tell you though, lately there are a lot of things that have started to slip into it. Like I got to tell you, is you know, being very, again, not to jump into it, but you and I have known each other for 25 years and maybe
Mm.
longer, 26, 27 years. And I have never been like extreme one way or the other, right? Like I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm not really like I'm not.
Politically.
I try to see every sign. Like the bigotry that goes on right now of if it's either Democrat, I agree with everything. If it's Republican, I agree with everything on both sides. Just makes me sick to my stomach. And so football is the place where I felt like, hey, I get an escape from that too. Because we can all have a different opinion about the Chargers this year, or the way that they look
But
on. You know, my boss at my day job always
but
says,
why the
"Oh, the Chargers
Chargers?
look so great on paper." What was that?
But why the Chargers? Why do you think? Why do you like watching the Chargers more than you like watching the Miami Dolphins or the Denver Broncos or the Dallas Cowboys?
Okay,
You got
well,
to be a
for
little
me,
impressed that I got the names of the teams right.
right? No, actually, dude, I've got a cookie for you. No, so
But
for
no, so
me,
yeah, why the Chargers?
For me, it's strictly geographical. I was born and raised in San Diego. I mean, San Diego is a little piece of California. It's almost like people don't consider it California. It's this little, like a little forgot about little pocket of the, you know, I think sometimes people think we're Mexico. Sometimes people think we're Arizona. In the summertime, if you go down to the beach, it's all Arizona license plates. I'm pretty sure it feels like Arizona. When I go to Phoenix, on my day job, I work in Phoenix. I always introduce myself as, I'm also a resident of Phoenix on the far west side called San Diego. And it's just, you know,
Funny.
but the thing about San Diego is we've always sucked in sports. You know, we've never really had that wazoo. The Clippers back in the 70s, they left and went to LA. And at the time, I was really upset, but I was so little when the Clippers left that I became a Laker fan over something that Hank Bauer or one of these guy broadcasters on TV had said. So they were really upset about it. So I said, well, because of that, I'm never going to be a Clippers fan. Now, I think I'm going back to the Clippers. I just, you know, now that I'm appreciating the fact of you know, really representing where you're from. Now, let me give you, since we're talking about the Chargers, I mean, this is not a Chargers sponsored show. Maybe the amount of money I dump into the Chargers, look at my walls. I mean, maybe I do have the right to be considered a Charger who's sponsoring the show. But the thing about the Chargers, the other thing that's really kind of kept me with them is the Chargers are the only native Southern California team. And a lot of people don't realize that. First of all, most football fans that you're out there talking to weren't even born the last time that you know anything happened with California outside of the Rams. I mean, the Rams, to be honest with you, they started in Ohio.
Do they play the same stadium?
Yes, they play in the same stadium. And the Chargers, we are the Section 8 renters of the Rams stadium there. It's yeah. So it's a shared stadium. You want to talk about the politics of football? There are politics in football. One of them is the fact that we left San Diego. That the voters in San Diego were way too conservative. They saw the word tax on the tax form and didn't realize it wasn't going to cost them anything. It was going to cost tourists. But they still voted not to build the new stadium because all the small little pocket of ultra-conservative San Diego didn't want a new tax, even though it wasn't going to hit them. And then they complain when the Chargers leave and they said that they turned their back. But no, you did when you voted. So we do have that little aspect of politics that go on. But going back to the fact that so the reason I am is I'm born and raised Southern California. I've always been in Southern California. I had a very short time when I had the radio show at a Star 98.3 in Maryland. But outside of that, up until this last year, I've always been from Southern California. And the Chargers are the only team that can claim that they've always been in Southern California. The Raiders started in Oakland, came to LA, and the Raiders actually were the Los Angeles Raiders because they played in USC, and then the Coliseum. No, not the Coliseum. What's the big USC stadium there in LA?
I don't know. But USC Stadium is fine.
Yeah. So they played actually. So they actually were the Los Angeles Raiders. In fact, the Raiders are the only team that have actually been, I believe, a Los Angeles football team, except for the Los Angeles Chargers in 1969, who then went up to San Diego, and then obviously once they weren't able to get a deal in the new stadium, and the ownership family couldn't see eye to eye. Ended up back in Carson, California, and now are in Inglewood. So ultimately, it's Los Angeles.
So you're
County,
a fan, but now you live in Las Vegas. So are you now going to become a Raider fan?
Absolutely not. Enemy lines, man. I see. You know what? Actually, that was a fair question because I did say that it was based on my geography, but no. I mean, it's the team I grew up with. And, during those pivotal years of high school into college and that first, work and really dedicating yourself to a cause, I think just to flip script and choose another team. So now I'm a walking contradiction to a certain extent because I am also a fan of the San Francisco 49ers. And I'll tell you why. I shouldn't be, and every Charger fan right now is giving me the middle finger on the screen because the last Super Bowl that we did go to, the 49ers kicked the shit out of us. But I grew up as one of my, and this goes back to the whole fantasy thing. So I grew up loving not only the game, but you'd watch other games and you would see, and Joe Montana was my favorite quarterback. He just had something, and Jerry Rice was his wide receiver, and those guys were a dream team for the San Francisco 49ers. And so at one point, even though a diehard Charger, still diehard Charger, I did have a Joe Montana starter jacket. And I tell you what, I couldn't tell you where Notre Dame was on a map, but I was a Notre Dame fan because that's where Joe Montana came from. And that kind of goes back to that, like how NFL is really kind of a cult or a religion, right? We do crazy things and we have these crazy thoughts and we go back and we believe things. I don't even know anything about Notre Dame. To this day, I've never been there. I've never seen the campus. But I've been a Notre Dame fan for the last 25 years with a Notre Dame jersey because my favorite football player at the time when it was important to me graduated from that school and played for that school. So, it's one of those things that I don't really have a psychological.
I think Jerry Rice lives in. By the way, I think Jerry Rice lives in Las Vegas. I'm trying to think.
I believe he does. I believe he does. I believe he does too.
I think so.
But I was really focused.
I think I saw him on a podcast. Something.
Yeah, quarterback was my dude. Jerry Rice is also a hero of mine. I mean, there's a lot of heroes that I've had over the course of time, but that was the one place.
We should get him or Joe Montana on. Joe Montana.
I would love to.
The podcast.
Yeah. In fact, one of our call to actions from an earlier show.
Are they 50s?
Well, remember the Hobbies show?
How old are they? Yeah.
Joe Montana probably in his 60s.
60s now.
Yeah, late 60s maybe. But here's the thing: when we had the Hobbies show, one of the call to actions was, "What's on our bucket list, and how are we going to get it done?" Do you remember what was on my bucket list? I had a list of 10 people that at some point I want to bring onto the show, and I would say that Joe Montana is one of those 10, right up there with out of the top 3. I would say Joe Montana is one of the top 3 that I would love to talk to because it was such an iconic person for me growing up and got me through so many things. Sort of like my music. My music is very close to the football because, Serge, look at the things we do for a living, right? I mean, you and I are in these very, very strict, high liability, security function, conservative businesses. And then look at us when we get home. And we're very good at our jobs, but that's not our life. And that's the whole thing on this Dare to Live. And one of the causes of this show is I don't want people as they grow older to think that career that they did their whole life has to define the rest of their life. It's okay to be a Democrat or a Republican. Who cares what your job was? It's okay to love football. It's okay to love chess. It's okay to go swim. Dude, just take something and embrace it and live in it and believe in it. And if you're gonna do it to the best of your ability.
But you had a very good point. One of the points that you made is that one of the reasons I don't watch football is because I don't completely understand football. Like I didn't grow up with football. It wasn't, my parents were not sports fan. So the only sport I really watch, because I thought about it as we were talking about the show, the only sport I really watch is I watch mixed martial arts. And I'm a UFC fan, but I actually wind up watching more non-UFC fights. I just think that the early fights are better, right? I
The Dan
love going
Henderson, the Chuck
to fights.
Liddells, the
Not just that. I mean, those were all UFC guys. I'm talking about
speaking of which, Chuck
fights
Liddell was
with
on the field at
fighters.
the Charger game.
Of course he was.
Sorry.
And Chuck Liddell was also in his 50s and amazing. Both he and Randy Couture, I think, would be amazing guests. Because especially, I recently watched some stuff about Randy, and he's just an amazing guy, right? He survived so much in his life, and Chuck was an amazing champion. I love watching him. And so, if I watch a UFC fight or if I watch mixed martial arts on TV, I love the UFC. One of the reasons I love the watching UFC fights is because I love the announcers. Like I think Joe Rogan,
Yes.
politics aside, and some of the goofier things that he says aside, is a hilarious guy who is a great commentator
Great example.
for
That was
mixed
a great
martial
example.
arts. When
Mhm.
when
Dana
I
White.
go
Dana
to
White also.
fights, Dana White. And Dana White, by the way, what's amazing about Dana White is that I knew Dana White 20 years ago, before the private planes, and everything else, and I met him a few times because I love going to local fights. And the reason I like those fights because I understand, because I used to train jiu-jitsu, I understand mixed martial arts in a
Right.
way, especially the ground game, in a way that I can't appreciate football. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe one of the reasons that football is so powerful for so many people is because they see themselves in the field. And in some ways, I could never see myself on the field of football, but I could see myself in a mixed martial arts ring. I can see myself in a UFC ring, obviously, when I was younger. All right. And so now that I'm in my 50s, right, I kind of live vicariously through what I'm watching. So maybe that's the level of appreciation that I don't have, right? That why so many people are such strong fans.
Yeah, and you make a good point there, and it goes to the fact that first of all, I don't think you had to be a good player to appreciate the game because some of the best coaches in the NFL, in soccer, in football, in baseball were horrible players. Because you don't have to necessarily be. Some of the most diehard fans have never even picked up. They don't even know what the football is. They don't even know the football's made of pigskin. But they love the game. They love the dynamics. They love the analytics. They love watching that happen in real time, and they can let that escape. You just brought up. It was great. Joe Rogan. It kind of was what I was saying before. Yeah, if you listen to Joe Rogan, some people definitely conservative, Trump side of things. You would never know that on a UFC fight. You would never know that and vice versa.
No.
You could say that thing for a lot of different people. And that's what I love about this, is that noise of the world is gone. And it has the ability for me to live my best life and do this with people that I care about. Is you bought me tickets to a Charger Raider game. You didn't know shit about football. You had no idea what was going on. You had a great time. You had a great time because
We had a
that
great time,
atmosphere,
and
it was phenomenal.
the atmosphere in the group, and I say that all the time.
Energy.
Group energy is so important. So yes, going to the events, I think, and maybe I guess watching from home would be as well. But going to the events, I'm not a football fan. I am not a Charger or Raider fan. I couldn't name any of the players. I don't think I've seen a game on television in years, if not decades. And when we were on
Can
that,
you name the
when
tight
we
end
were,
of the Kansas City Chiefs?
I cannot. Oh, what's his
Okay.
name? No, I just know Taylor Swift's boyfriend, right?
Yeah, Taylor Swift's
I
boyfriend. He
know.
doesn't really have a name. That's his name. His name's actually Travis Kelce, but
Travis,
it just shows you
Kelce.
where the outside has infiltrated my religion a little bit.
And
We
wait,
gotta keep
and the Kansas City quarterback is like Mahone, right, or something? Is that right?
yeah, Patrick Mahomes, yeah. So
There you go.
anyhow,
I dated a
I
girl from
respect
Kansas
him as a
City. That's the
player. I
only
hate
reason I
him
know
as
that.
a rival. So
But the thing about it is, and so yeah, so the fact that it provides us energy is actually a very good thing. So this is why coming together in a group of friends, and this is sort of to apply more to our show, right? The reason we're doing a football show is because you're such a football fan, and I want to give you an opportunity to talk about things you're passionate about. And ultimately, 50 Shades of Great is about following your passions. And if your passion is football, then let's talk about football. If your passion is mixed martial arts, let's talk about mixed martial arts. And we should absolutely get some football players on, especially who are in their 50s, who are retired, to talk about how football has affected them, and how they're seeing their 50s, and what makes that decade for them different as they're looking at 60, and
as they transition into later life.
as they
That's a great
transition into
point.
middle life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a great point. And what it does too is like with the concerts. Like I'm all about live music. I want to go to concerts because you know what? Every single one of us, no matter who it, I mean, you can go back into the biblical times. Everything was a psalm. It's music has been such a major part of human, you know, Homo sapien psychology for so long, to the point people prayed in music, people speak in music, people, your love song, you remember what, your wedding dance song. And so live music, and this is kind of my other, and we'll do a whole show on live music as well. But when I say buy the Dare to Live, go buy the ticket, is what you were saying about the energy you felt at that NFL game. Is when you go and watch the band that you've thought about your entire life, that got you through a tough time, that made you happy, that you celebrated to, and you go there and you see live that person who's just another person put on that show and bring the energy and allow you to almost have closure for that event. And it can be good, bad, or indifferent, but the closure of, oh my God, this means so much to me. And now Journey is right here in front of me singing, or Def Leppard, or Guns N' Roses, or, Ice Cube, but it's just, I'm telling you, as we dare to live, we've got to get that closure. And sometimes that closure is just feeling that energy firsthand. With me, it's the NFL and concerts. I'm also a baseball fan, but that just goes to the sports. But it's also it's a way of coping for me. With borderline
Is there a
PTSD.
sport you don't like? Is there a
Um,
sport you don't like?
yeah. I I never really got into rugby. But again, most of that's overseas.
What about
And
hockey?
then lacrosse. I still don't understand. Like my daughter, she was a softball player. I got into softball because I like baseball. I mean, it's a long, gets boring. But she started dating these lacrosse guys, and I don't know. I just can't get into the sport of lacrosse. So I mean, yeah, there's a few sports out there that I'm like,
What about
hockey.
hockey? Are you a big hockey fan?
I am not so I'm a live hockey fan. And this is, again, you've just got to be there. You've got to experience. I don't go home and care. I went to a live hockey thing when I was a kid, and I saw Wayne Gretzky. And so I became an LA Kings fan, because I liked Gretzky, kind of like the Joe Montana, right? But I can't tell you how many times they've won or not. And I can tell you like this. The one thing I will switch to, probably because I don't have a lot of dedication, I think I will become a Golden Knights fan, only because I'll have the ability to go to the games here and actually get into it, locally. I wasn't going to drive
Well,
to Los
I'll tell you,
Angeles to go
Vegas,
watch the Kings play.
but you got to give props to Las Vegas. Like Las Vegas,
Absolutely.
they did something pretty smart. They brought in the Raiders. They didn't, and they resisted professional
Absolutely.
sports for a while, right?
Absolutely.
They brought in the Raiders. They are going to bring. They have a great hockey team now.
Yep.
They also have professional lacrosse. Believe it or not, I'm going to take you. Here's the call to action. I'm going to take you to a professional lacrosse game
There you go.
in Las Vegas, because I have some. I need to figure out when the season is.
Make
But
me,
we're
yeah, no,
also getting
it's an appreciation for the game. But you know what? You
we're
said
getting
you
a
said something
baseball team.
interesting. Yeah, so the Oakland A's are coming to Las Vegas. The Oakland Raiders are now in Las Vegas. The Golden Knights are now in Las Vegas.
Uh,
And isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that Las Vegas has now figured out that their target demographic that they want to get in the casinos on the tables, that this escape of sports is going to do that. And it's already paid off in dividends. I've watched the Tropicana go down, and since they've taken it down, I'm very excited. I don't know that I completely agree where they're building the stadium. I think it's going to be a traffic nightmare, as if it's not already. Like that South Strip is ridiculous to try and get through. Now it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. You can't get through the South Strip. But I think that, you know what? It's this. And I'm telling you, for me, for me,
Yeah.
to a certain extent. This is going to be a little controversial, but to me, the NFL and football and getting it is kind of like my Xanax for some people or Prozac for some people. It actually allows me to escape. It allows me to calm down, and it allows me just to feel like I'm a part of something else and there's something to look forward to. And that goes down to that, to come full circle and the whole religion thing. Religion's about looking forward to a better day, right? That hope and that desire that you believe in something that nobody else sees. And obviously there's so many religions, but you are convicted in the fact that you are living your life because you want to see the end game in whatever that religious aspect is. I feel the same way with the NFL. I get depressed when the season's over, and I think that's when, that's why I've gotten into baseball. Baseball's not my favorite sport. Football's by far my favorite sport. I played soccer. I'm a fan of soccer only because, you sit there for a long time and not a lot happens. It's not real high scoring. But
you
I
gotta give a shout out to Ted Lasso. I'm not a soccer fan, but man, was that a good show.
Yeah, no, Ted Lasso was a good show. And hey, while we're saying it, last week, Alex Morgan, the Olympic girl who was playing in the women's team, the San Diego Wave, retired out of soccer. So I would say she's one of the pioneers of actually bringing women's soccer to where it is today, which has expanded a lot. She's done a lot for the sport. She's done a lot for women and the appreciation and recognition of women's sports. So congratulations, Alex Morgan, on your retirement. And but yeah, it's just this is a way for us to to wrap this up. My final thought on this would be the sports and getting into a hobby. It goes back to our hobbies, and something to identify with. It gives you identity. Identity is very important because if you have identity and you feel like you fit into a group of people in a circle of friends, right? And you have like-minded things, like a religion, like a job, like anything else, that adds to your ability to go through and make the best day of your life and to dare to live.
But you're on a year. And you've heard it here. If you're depressed, instead of going on to antidepressants, watch football.
There's your call to action. Yeah. Don't give so much money to the pharmaceuticals. Give it to the Chargers.
Watch football. We're not giving medical advice.
We're not giving medical advice. No, absolutely.
It's all in jest.
It's a very serious subject. And I say that in all seriousness too, because I do have depression. I do have borderline PTSD. I mean, I have been involved in some critical incidents that haunt me to this day. And I'll tell you, it's about living your best life. The best way to cope with life and actually look for a good day tomorrow is to live your best life.
Yeah. So I think identity is important. I think the escape of in professional sports, which drowns out the noise, right? As men, we deal with a lot of noise in our lives. We have everybody asking us for things, wanting things, and the ability to escape for a period of time is so critical.
It is critical. And I got to tell you, this is how I cope. I've like I just said, I've got certain depressions and things that I've dealt with over the course of my life. And my ability to focus and look for a happy tomorrow and something to look forward to is professional sports. So, Serge, we're going to go out here and take call to action. We're going to focus on doubling down on finding those things, whether it's sports, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's football, and find our identity and go out there and just double down on it. It's the living your best life. Dare to live. This is the title of the show, 50 Shades of Great. Dare to live. And on that note, we are going to go live the best day of our lives. You go live yours. Have a great day.
The show doesn't stop there. Join the movement on IG, 50 Shades of _great, or go to our website, 50shadesofgreat.com.